Hey, what's up everybody? It's Never Precious here and welcome to today's podcast series. Without wasting much time, let's get started. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about feedbacks. Yes, feedbacks. If you're a creative, then feedbacks is something you're already familiar with. Personally, I love feedbacks. I love giving them and I love receiving them. It's a great way to see yourself or your work from another person's perspective, especially from someone who is more experienced and more knowledgeable than you in your field of practice. But let's face it, not everyone knows so much about this sacred art of giving feedbacks, most especially the client. Well, how do we fix that? In this episode. This episode is dedicated to creatives, and not just the creatives, but also the client. Have you ever been on the receiving end of a feedback from a client with no design knowledge, no design experience, no design authority, and not too many history of working with designers themselves, giving you feedback, criticizing and assessing your work? What you probably get is self-opinionated judgment rather than constructive criticism. And when you're the designer with the education, either formal or informal, the skill set to match, and the experience and practice in the field, how do you deal with that? Well, that's where this video comes in. Being able to help your client understand the design process and how to articulate their opinions. Teach them how to assess your design work better so you too can better understand them and have a better future working relationship together. Constructive criticism, as opposed to self-opinionated judgment, is criticism based on a claim, a validation, or an authority. It is usually very articulate, detailed, and has a reason backed on a solid authority. This is the kind of feedback everybody loves. This is the kind that makes you better as a designer and also helps you see from somebody else's perspective or experience, the kind that makes the work goes faster. People that give constructive criticism usually know and understand what they are talking about. For example, I don't like the font. Why? Because it is not inconsistent with our branding. As opposed to, I don't like the font. Why? Because it is not fine. If you observe these two examples, you find out that while one is very constructive, the other is very subjective. Let's look at the latter. I don't like the font because it's not fine. You realize that the concept of fine is very subjective and can vary from person to person. Beauty, they say, lies in the eyes of the beholder, right? And this further explains our claim on self-opinionated judgment. Let's look at the other. I don't like the font. Why? Because it's not inconsistent with our branding. What's your branding like? What's your style guide? What's throwing it off? How can I align to your branding? Study these two examples, you notice that while one fosters productivity, understanding, and a better working relationship, the other might leave both of you confused, misunderstood, and tend to kill morale even faster. Is giving self-opinionated criticism wrong? No. Completely no. What then is self-opinionated judgment? You know how they say we are all entitled to our opinions? Well, I find that completely true. While it's perfectly normal to share your opinions about the world, somebody's work, or anything else, it's also very important to note that your opinion is what it is, your opinion, until it is validated. Except you are an authority in the subject matter or field you're talking about. And that's the fun part. It's not so difficult to be an authority. All you have to do is stand on an already existing authority. Validate your own thoughts, your opinions, and ideas. That little extra, the research, the study, the experience, the networking, the learning, the consultation, going the extra mile, that's the thin line between constructive criticism and self-opinionated judgment. Validate your own thought and idea with someone else, an authority in the subject matter or field which you're talking about. Someone who spent a little bit more time of their life gaining knowledge or experience on that subject matter you're talking about. This is what shifts you from self-opinionated judgment to constructive criticism. And I quote a great mentor of mine, the Chris Doe from the future. Learn to do the extra work of validating your own thoughts and opinions before mouthing them or voicing them out. Reading a book or two helps. Conducting a research also helps. talking to a few experts or consultants on the subject matter is also vital. The goal is to validate your own opinion so it doesn't seem that it's coming from just one standpoint and very self-opinionated. Quick story. So I had a private class with one of my students and we discussed about the anatomy of the face for illustrators. We had an interesting class, by the way, studying the facial muscles and facial anatomy. Wow. He came back the next day and called me out, told me I was wrong on some of the things I said. This was a very interesting moment for me. Like if you're a teacher of some sort, you probably understand. But here's the interesting part. So instead of me getting all uptight and defensive, here's what I said. So what's your validation? On what authority do you stand? That's it. He pleaded his case and won. It turned out the young man had done his research, made some studies, read some books, found new ideas, validated his opinion, and I stand to be corrected. Nevertheless, guys, we're talking about feedbacks. And graphic design, as we all know, is all about visual communication. And communication is bi-directional. That is, there's a sender and there's a receiver. And what is being transmitted is the information. And the word media or medium is whatever medium we use to visually transmit this information. And for conversations to effectively happen, there have to be a talking and a listening. So feedbacks are an essential part of the communication process. Learning to give feedbacks, learning to receive feedbacks. Here are some criteria for assessing and criticizing the design work and giving feedbacks on them. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of Professor A. Obadi, Professor Omar, Mr. Lee Stewart, Mr. Oyemechiwa Breze, all of my amazing lecturers who helped shape me to the designer that I am today, and the word of Martin Neumeyer, the Christo, Seth Godin, James Ferrier, Thomas Tokunga, and all other authorities on which I stand. First of all, there is utility, the purpose of the design, the function. What's the usage plan? Because graphic design is a pre-organized plan intended to solve a specific problem. So it's best to critique or assess a design with the purpose in focus. Secondly, is legibility. What does the design read or communicate? Once the purpose of the design is established, it is also very important to assess how legible this purpose is communicated. Is the goal or message you're trying to pass across in the design, is it very readable, not readable, or somewhere in between? These are legibility questions you put into consideration when you're criticizing or assessing the design work. There is organization. How well arranged are the elements in the design? These elements include typography, color, texture, patterns, shapes, images, and so much more. This is where you assess the design composition by its organization level. Is it well arranged or misarranged? The proportion, the balance, the use of space and negative spacing, the alignment. As a client, you might want to check out if the arrangement of the design suits your taste. And also, this element. What are the elements used in the design? In order to create a unique piece of design, there is an interrelation of the elements of design. These elements come together to form one single unique composition. So you might want to assess and criticize the choice of elements and how they are used and the principles guiding them. This is where you can address the intricate details in the design. Things like color choices, image choices, shape choices, pattern choices, illustration choices, type choices, and all others. All these are elements that make up the design and can also be criticized. And there's creativity, the creative process, or as a good friend of mine once said, the X factor. What are the creative process involved in solving the design problem? The approach, the style, the artistic interpretation or presentation. This is where the overall creative approach of the design can be criticized and assessed as well. And finally, the aesthetics, the overall beauty of the design. I say this last for a reason, not because it's not important. It is very important, yes, but it should be the last priority in relation to the other. Why? Because design is functional. It has a job to do, a plan, a purpose, a direction, something it was designed for. And that's the key difference between a piece of design and a piece of art. While art is built on aesthetics and beauty and created to be appreciated, design, on the other hand, is built on utility and functionality and is meant to be used. Moreover, it is also very important to make design aesthetically and visually appealing so they can be easily embraced and appreciated. You might also want to criticize the beauty of your design to suit your aesthetics. Well guys, that's my 6 tips on how you can critique a design work, and also teach your clients on how they can critique and assess your design work. And for clients, this is how designers love for you to criticize their work. If you found this video helpful, kindly leave me a like, subscribe if you're new here, and like always, don't forget to share, because you know, sharing is caring. Once again, it's Number Precious here, signing out.